Hello, Radio Land. Welcome to another Dream Makers 365 and IntellectualRadio.com internet radio show. Of course, brought to you by My Full of Beauty Incorporated, where my great friend Mr. Martin Casey serves as the president and CEO. And without him, there will not be any Dream Makers 365 talk show. So we're glad that you tuned in with us on tonight. And again, as I often ask, you might be asking why Dream Makers? Well, we have this show set up for three reasons. Number one, we want to have a platform to give a voice to the voiceless, and we want to wonderful dialogue about Black history 365 days a year. And of course, I would not do this show without the blessings of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And He is certainly my main motivator. And we want this show, because of Jesus Christ, to be a motivator to you. So those are the reasons why we have Dream Makers 365. Tonight's topic, we will be discussing a very important topic. It is in honor of Donate Life Month. We have a wonderful guest who will be talking to us in just a few minutes. She's in the studio with me now, Lisa G. We're going to be talking about Donate for Life Month, and she is certainly one of the people that have been affected by a wonderful gift that God had blessed her with, and she'll share with you what that gift was. Other than Savior Jesus Christ, she has an awesome gift to share with us tonight, and we thank God for her for coming into the studio. A great friend of mine, a member of a wonderful church right down the road here in Chicagoland at United Baptist Church. But first, our Black History Person of the Week. It is, again, hot dog, apple pies, and all of that peanuts, baseball, as we would say, here in the city, the White Sox and the Cubs. And since we are a national show, we have teams as far west as the Oakland A's and, of course, the Dodgers, and as far east as the New York Yankees. So many great teams. Baseball is back. So we're going to talk about a man that made an impact on the lives of Black Americans in the year, I believe, of 1947, if my record serves me correct, by being the first Black American in a major league sport. And we know the United Negro League was no short of its awesome things that it did for Black Americans. So many people, we're going to do a show on the Negro Leagues here in the summer months because of this. But we know Jackie Robinson was chosen to be the first African American. So we're going to talk about him on tonight. But first, let us pray before we go any further. Thank you, Lord, for this show on tonight. We thank you for producers like Earl Winfrey and Wanda B, who worked tirelessly to provide us with these 30 talk shows and so many other ones in development, maybe even more than that, to come out of these studios. And we thank you for our special guest tonight, Lisa G. We thank you for her life and for her being able to come into these studios to share a very powerful story to the city of Chicago and to the world. Bless her and bless all of those who are listening on tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
The first spotlight tonight for baseball season, as I said, will go toward Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier when he became the first Black athlete to play Major League Baseball in the 20th century. Now, I'm going to go on the limb, and I know this for a fact. Jackie, if he were here, he will tell you that physically speaking, with his athleticism, he was not the best baseball player. There were other greater baseball players. It was just the fact that God had chosen him at that time. There are so many other ones that I could name, the Satchel Pages, and of course, Josh Gibson, and so many other ones out there who really paved the way and helped Jackie Robinson to be where he was as far as a great American who played in the National League. He was the MVP in 1969 and a World Series champion in 1955 with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Here's some interesting facts about Jackie Robinson. As we know, born in January 31st, 1919, and passed his life October the 24th, 1972, became the first black athlete, as I stated earlier, to play in the Major League Baseball in the 20th century when he took the field for the Brooklyn Dodgers, as I said, in 1947. Throughout his decade-long career, Robinson distinguished himself as one of the game's most talented, exciting players, recording an impressive 311 career batting average. He was also a vocal civil rights activist. He died in Connecticut in 1972 from heart problems and diabetes complications. So we will be talking about other great Americans next week, and I'll come back to this later. We'll be talking about S.B. Fuller, who happens to be the grandfather, or the grandfather of my sponsor of this show, Martin Casey. Mr. Fuller and Jackie Robinson and other civil rights leaders, they were at odds at how to tackle and grapple with the economic disenfranchised of black Americans. But I'm going to set the record straight to tell you next week that Jackie Robinson, even though he was a great baseball player, there were some concerns and issues that he had with the men like S.B. Fuller. And his grandson, I thank God for him, sponsored this show. Again, Jackie Robinson's statistics. He was an exceptional baseball runner. Jackie Robinson stole home 19 times in his career. Wow, setting a league record in 1955. He helped the Dodgers win the World Series. Before he retired, he became the highest paid athlete in Dodgers history. Over the course of his career in Major League Baseball, from 1947 to 1956, Robinson achieved the following statistics. He had a 311 batting average, had 137 home runs, 4,877 times at bat, 1,511 hits, 735 or 4 runs batted in. Now 197 stolen bases, 409 on base percentage, 883 on base slugging, OPS. Now let's talk about his wife and children rather. In the early 1940s, Jackie met a nurse in training, Rachel Isam Robinson, when they were both attending the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. The couple was married February the 10th, 1946. As Jackie made his career in the major leagues, the couple faced mounting racism, from insults to death threats. And I remember watching the movie Brother Earl and Sister Lisa, that they even put black cats in the baseball, on the baseball field, to just really try to ridicule him. And I thank God it really did some mental straining on him. It may have even led to his life being cut down, as far as I'm concerned, at a younger age when he could have lived longer. So his heart just gave out because of all of the pressure that he felt. Now, their middle child, of course, was named Sharon Robinson. She is an author and a consultant for the Major League Baseball. Now, Jack Robinson Jr. died at the age of 24 in a car accident. And while their youngest child, Dave Robinson, is a coffee farmer in Tanzania, if I'm saying that correctly. Tanzania, yeah, that's right. When was Jackie Robinson born? Jackie Roosevelt Robinson was born, again, as I stated, January the 31st, 1919, in Cairo, Georgia. The youngest of 5 children, Robinson was raised in the relative poverty from a single mother. He attended John Muir High School and Pasadena Junior College, where he was an excellent athlete and played 4 sports: football, basketball, track, and baseball. He was named the region's most valuable player in baseball in 1938. Robinson's older brother, Matthew Robinson, inspired Jackie to pursue his talent and love of athletics. Matthew won a silver medal in the 200-meter dash just behind Jesse Owens at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin. That's awesome. Wow. Now, with the Brooklyn Dodgers, After his discharge from the Army in 1944, Robinson began to play baseball professionally. At the time, the sport was segregated. I want you to not forget that. African Americans and white played in separate leagues. Robinson began playing in the Negro leagues, but he was soon chosen by Branch Rickey, president of the Brooklyn Dodgers, to help integrate Major League Baseball. He joined an all-white Montreal Royals farm team for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1946. So like my mama said and your parents said, you got to crawl before you can walk. So Jackie Robinson just didn't wake up as far as get to be a baseball player or even start out. He had to go through the farm league. So Robinson later moved to Florida to begin spring training with the Royals. Now listen to this. Robinson played his first game at Ebbets Field for the Brooklyn Dodgers. It's coming up on his anniversary, April 15th, 1947. And we're talking 72 years ago, making history as the first black athlete to play Major League Baseball in the 20th century. And notice I said he knew he wasn't the best baseball player. If Josh Gibson had played, Brother Earl, he hit more home runs than Babe Ruth, Josh Gibson. But according to the movie I saw, there were some concerns about Josh Gibson. He had some mental relapses. He had some issues. So, of course, the white leader or the white owners were not necessarily going to pick him. So they picked Jackie Robinson because they felt he would be better representative of a team as a black athlete. Now, listen to this. The harassment continued, however, most notably by the Philadelphia Phillies and their manager, Ben Chapman. During one infamous game, Chapman and his team shouted derogatory terms at Robinson from their dugout. Many players on opposing teams threatened not to play against the Dodgers because of Jackie Robinson. Even his own teammates threatened to sit out. But the Dodgers manager, Leo Durocher, informed them that he will soon trade them. Then Robinson, see, it takes God Almighty through a white man. He took a stand, said that if you don't treat this black man right, then you will be traded. See, that's what it takes. And his loyalty to the player set the tone for the rest of the Robinson's career with the team. So others defended Jackie Robinson's right to play in the major leagues, including the league president, Ford Frick, baseball commissioner at that time, Happy Chandler, Jewish baseball star Hank Greenberg, and the Dodgers shortstop and team captain, Pee Wee Reese. They stood up for Jackie Robinson. And it takes a real man to do that for another man or a person in general. But let me close out by letting you know that Robinson again was vocal champion for African American athletes, civil rights, and other social and political causes, serving on the board of the NAACP until 1967. In July 1949, he testified about discrimination before the House Un-American Activities Committee. And in 1952, he publicly called out the Yankees as a racist organization for not having broken the color barrier 5 years after he began playing with the Dodgers. And we're talking about a northern team, not a team in the South, not a team like the Brooklyn Dodgers. But they didn't even want to put a black person on the New York Yankees team. But a change had to come. So Robinson continued to lobby for greater integration in sports. How did Jackie Robinson die? Jackie Robinson died from heart problems. All of the stress of being a black man in America, diabetes complications. On October the 24th, he got his wings. He passed on to glory, October 24th, 1972, in Stamford, Connecticut. Now, again, on next week, I am going to be talking about S.B. Fuller, who was at odds, or should I say Jackie Robinson and many other civil rights leaders were at odds with what this man stood for. He believed in black people helping themselves, economic development. Was nothing wrong with this. So we're going to do a show next week on S.B. Fuller and I'll be in touch with his grandson, who is the sponsor of this show. Let me talk a little bit about, before my guest comes on now, about this issue regarding more minority organ donors are needed. And Sister Lisa is going to be talking more about that. It's very important. We have the National Minority Awareness Day that has since become the National Minority Awareness Week. And we observe in the first week of August every year, there's special observance honoring minorities who have been donors, and encourages others to register as donors and take better care of their health in order to reduce the numbers of people needing a transplant. Now, let me give you some statistics. Back in 1996, 46,000 people were on the national transplant waiting list. That number has now reached to over 121,000. Are you listening to me? Of that number, more than 100,000 persons are waiting a kidney transplant, and of these, more than 68,000 are members of racial and ethnic minorities. Minorities have higher rates of kidney disease and kidney failure. Oh, we're going to talk about dialysis, trust me, on tonight. I've got a living witness in the room tonight who beat the odds. Just hold on to your seat. Here are 5 questions that are frequently asked regarding issues surrounding organ donating. Why are so many minority individuals waiting on the list for a kidney? Listen to me. There are African Americans waiting, there are Asians waiting, there are Pacific Islanders waiting. Hispanic and Latinos are 3 times more likely than Caucasians to suffer from end-stage renal disease or kidney failure, often as a result of high blood pressure and other conditions such as diabetes that can damage the kidneys. Recently, a link has been discovered between certain genetic factors and kidney disease among African Americans, specifically a mutation or abnormality. Are you listening to me? Which says that in an APOL1 gene is thought to cause up to 40% of kidney failure cases among African Americans. Do kidney donors and recipients have to be the same race? That's the second question. Although organs are not matched according to race and ethnicity, and people of different races frequently match one another, all individuals waiting for an organ transplant will have a better chance of receiving one if there are a large number of donors from their racial and ethnic background. Lord have mercy. I want to preach that one, Lisa. This is because compatible blood types, tissue markers, very important qualities for donor and recipient matchings, are more likely to be found among members of the same ethnicity. It is what it is, guys. Third question, I got to move on up a little higher. Is there a difference between a kidney from a living donor or a deceased donor? Watch out. While patient surviving rates are similar, a live donor kidney survives much longer than a deceased donor kidneys after transplantation, probably because of a shorter period in which the circulation of the blood is cut off for the live donor kidney. That is something to think about. Wow. I didn't know that after this research. What if I donate a kidney and later need a kidney transplant? Listen, the United Network for Organ Sharing, an agency that coordinates the United States transplant activities, now allows for kidney donors who later need a kidney transplant to jump to the top of the transplant waiting list, guaranteeing them priority when a compatible donor is found. Look at that.
That's right.
You're going to hear Lisa talk about that. I'm going to let her have the floor for about 25 minutes. What can I do during a National Minority Donor Awareness Week? What can you do this month? Which this is Donate for Life month here in April. Is that right, Lisa?
Yes, sir.
During National Minority Donor Awareness Week, we are urging minorities to register to become an organ tissue donor. Sign up when you renew your driver's license or in the state registry. Have a family discussion and to share your desire to become an organ and tissue donor in life or after death, or open doors to your church, social, or community group so that we can discuss how to live healthier lives and how we can help others with the donation of these organs. Let me give you a little bit more information before I turn it over to Lisa.
That's good information.
Thank you so much for sharing that information, Lisa. I want to make sure that I'm on point. Now, listen to this. There are benefits and risk of living kidney donations. There is no doubt that a living donor is a huge benefit to the recipient. The person who gets your kidney, recipients of living donors, and things of that nature, the kidney usually lives longer. That's something to think. Ain't that right, Sister Lisa?
Yes, sir.
So this is what we need to do as Black Americans. We need to urge our lawmakers to protect the rights of living donors. That'll preach right there. Living donor surgery. If you want to be a living donor, you will need to have a medical exam with blood tests to be sure you are healthy enough to donate a kidney.
That's right.
And some of these tests needed may include a blood test. Are you walking with me? You need to have a urine test, a pap smear, a gynecological exam, a colonoscopy if you're over 50. And she's going to talk about that. I'm going to let her have the floor. I'm just setting the stage. Screening tests for cancer. Just making, oh, good. We're on good time. Antibody tests, because I'm about to introduce her in a second. An x-ray, electrocardiogram, EKG, which looks at your heart. Need to be in good shape. We want people to live longer when they receive their kidney. Is that right? Other images testing like a CT scan. And you're also required to meet with a psychologist and an independent living donor advocate. Why? To be sure you are mentally and emotionally ready to donate one of your kidneys. That's important. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our special guest. And we're just so thankful that he took the time out to come and hang out with us in these beautiful studios tonight. Our guest tonight is Lisa Gee. She was born and raised on that great side, that west side of Chicago. Lisa Gee is a graduate from John Marshall High School. She also was raised in the church as a little girl and has been attending the same church for over 40 years under the leadership of our pastor emeritus now, Pastor Wilson Daniels, Dr. Wilson Daniels. In 1984, Miss G graduated from the Debbie Beauty School on Madison on the west side of Chicago. G was also immediately hired as a hairstylist. As G clientele grew, her health began to decrease at the age of 24. But that's not the rest of the story. Watch out, watch out. Lisa she started the kidney dialysis for over 8 years in 1985, but something must have happened. A great thing must have happened. I'm going to let her tell the story. In 1999, she received a life-saving organ donation. She can give us the detail on tonight. What a great story. Still here. She's still here, Brother Earl, after 19 years. Just heard a young man say a friend of his only lasted 2 days after getting a transplant, Earl. She's lasted going on 20 years now. Well, right at 20, is that right?
Yes,
1999. I'm just doing the math now. Is that 20 years?
20 years.
That's right. And still growing stronger. Active in the church. I've seen her as one of her pastors in the church, very active. Lisa has been an advocate for the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois, Gift of Hope, Organ Transplant Support Group, which is also known as OTS, and many other support groups. And her focus, listen to this and she can talk about it. Her focus is to help stop the wait to those waiting for an organ transplant. I want to give it up for Lisa G. So we are just so thankful tonight that you are with us. I'm going to go ahead and get it started now. And I want to just ask you, Sister G, first of all, how are we feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. Thanks for having me tonight.
I am just elated to have you because when I first told you that I
Yes.
had a talk show and as a member of United Baptist Church, she says, well, hey, you need to stay and you need to get in touch with me.
Yes, sir.
And months and months and months passed, Brother Earl. We talked in the back after Sunday school because, I'm a Sunday school rat. I love Sunday school. And next thing I know, here we are about 5 months later. Didn't realize when God spoke to me and says, why don't you call Lisa on the show? And tonight, in the month of April, this is Donate for Life month. So
Yes, it
it just
is.
pays to listen to the good spirit, the
Yes,
great
sir.
spirit, the Lord. And
Yes.
that's why I'm so excited to have you. So I wanted to ask you, and I understand you did receive a kidney, but tell us about the time you had to wait. How was that period?
It was a battle. As a young girl growing up, I didn't have a youth because after high school, I went straight to a trade school that
Mhm.
was cosmetology.
Okay.
And I went to school and I graduated actually in 9 months and I went straight into a beauty salon and I stayed there for a couple of years and I was like this rich young girl just making all this money and didn't know I wasn't saving. And all of a sudden my ankles started to swell and my hands started to swell. I thought I was gaining weight. I always been so small
Yeah.
and I started gaining weight so I thought I was picking up weight. But all of a sudden I wasn't feeling too good. So I asked one of my girlfriends to take me to the hospital because something wasn't right. And I went in, actually, I went to Westlake
Hmm.
and they told me that I was in end stage renal failure.
Oh,
And I was like, what? I was like, no, you got the wrong person. That's not
yes,
me. That can't
yes.
happen to me. I'm young,
24, right?
24 years old. How this happened to me? But looking back over my life while I was a hairstylist, I was so busy working in the shop, I didn't have time to eat the proper food. And that's what caught me eating
Hmm.
fast food,
Mm.
those brown pops, which is messing our people up today. I know people will get upset when I say this, but I was kind of glad when Tony Preckwitt, she went up on the pop drinks. I think that would have helped stop a lot of people from drinking so much pop. You
Deter
know,
them from doing it.
yes.
Okay.
So
You
that
can give
was
some
one
more.
of the causes of me going into renal failure because I had all of this sugar in me and didn't know that it was causing high blood pressure. And
Mm.
I was walking around with high blood pressure and did not know it. And it was shutting my organs down. So I left the hospital and I was in denial. I told them that they had the wrong test and it
Mm.
was not me. This could not have happened to me. So I went back to work. And 2 weeks later, the ambulance picked me up and
Yes.
took me back to the hospital. And that's when I was totally diagnosed with kidney disease. And I was later put on dialysis.
On
Yes,
dialysis.
yes.
Okay.
There was a couple of dialysis treatment that I could have. Hemodialysis is where you go into the center and you be treated 3 to 4 hours a day, or you can do
Yes.
it at home. That's called peritoneal dialysis, where you can do it at home and you do the different exchanges 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So I decided to do peritoneal for a while.
And spell that again. Explain that. Now, what is the peritoneal?
Peritoneal is like you have to wear this bag
Oh.
on your stomach, and it's like you know how you get IVs.
Right.
Okay, that's the same thing. It's like an exchange. So you're cleaning yourself out with
I
one bag,
see.
you're emptying out, and then
Yes.
you're pouring back in. And say for the opposite of hemodialysis, it's with the blood.
Okay.
So you see the difference
Mm-hmm.
between the
Yes.
peritoneal is dealing with the
Peritoneal.
fluid, and the hemodialysis is when you go into the unit for 3 to 4 hours. Is when they stick you with these two big crochet needles,
Yes.
and you are dialyzed that way.
That way too.
Hmm.
Okay. And I often wonder about the dialysis, why there are so many people, primarily, and I'm not saying they're not white Americans, but I
Hmm.
noticed that it's a lot of African Americans and
Yes.
minorities who are getting dialysis. And it's just
Ye-
a tough situation for many
Yes.
of them. How early in the morning you had to get there, or was it
Well,
early
I
morning?
did the
You
afternoon.
did the
Yes,
afternoon,
I did from 3 to 7.
3 to 7.
Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday.
Wow.
hmm And at one point, I kind of gave up. It's really tough doing dialysis. It
Yes.
it it basically drains you, and yeah, you have to have support. But when I started doing dialysis, there was not a lot of support during that time.
Right.
So now that Facebook is out and all these other media
Right.
social medias, there is support everywhere. So I encourage anyone that's on dialysis to find some support groups to venture
To
into,
support
because we
groups.
all
Okay.
need support, because going through dialysis and transplantation, it's depressing, but that's why you need to have support groups, because there are many others just
Hmm.
like you that are going through.
Certainly, there are
Hmm.
certainly some people definitely going through. Let me ask you another question. So, what can you say to us who are potential donors, or maybe those that can be potential donors? The need to donate an organ to help save lives. What can you say to us tonight, or those persons listening? Why that's
I
important?
I feel that everyone should go online and read the status, because there is so many different bad status going around saying that if I sign up to be an organ donor, if something happened to me, the ambulance going to snatch my kidneys, or they're going to do this and that. That is not true. They're going to do all they can to save you.
Yes, that is so true. So then tell us about the issues surrounding those, in terms of kidney transplants for potential recipients like you once were. There are issues. What are some of the issues around this thing called donating a kidney, or the kidney transplant situations that are happening
Hmm.
all around the country? Just a lot of problems, issues. And I mentioned some of those tonight with minorities.
Well, for one, they're running short of money, and they're trying to stop paying for our medications. And when you receive a kidney transplant, you will have to take medication for the rest of your life.
Okay.
And this medicine is very costly.
See, I didn't know that. Earl, I didn't know that either. So you have to take medicine with
Yes.
the transplant.
Yes, rejection medication, and
Rejection
there's
medication.
yes,
Wow.
and then there's the prednisone. Some people are on different doses, and
Okay.
this is a very dangerous, powerful medication. That
Wow.
if at one time when I first got my transplant, I didn't like that prednisone, and I completely stopped taking it, and
Oh,
it just almost broke my bones.
okay.
So yes, that medicine is so
The side
important.
effects. What are those side effects to that, basically?
Depression,
Depression.
it can cause cancer.
Oh,
It's so many different side effects that we are not aware of until we get that transplant, and then we start doing our research
see.
and reading the side effects on the medication,
Hmm.
and it causes a lot of other problems, but
Right,
it helps out in another way.
right.
Yes.
That's great. And you being a spiritual, a woman of faith, a woman of God, and you find yourself, were you as strong in your faith at 24 as far as when you realize you had kidney failure, things of that nature. So my question basically is, what do you say to a person, or even what you had to go through, the waiting period, waiting on a kidney? What was it that kept you going?
Actually, God and my grandmother. I have a
Yes.
praying grandmother that never gave up on me.
Yes.
Yes, doing dialysis, it's a very tough task that, like I said before, you have to have some support
Yes.
in that in doing dialysis because it can take aware of your body and your mind and your soul.
Wow.
Yes, and at one time when I was on dialysis, I wanted to give up.
Yes.
It was just so hard. So I could never sleep because I felt like God was telling me to watch over the people that was there, and I would always take my Bible with me and I would
Okay.
read it and I would just write. And I have so many books that I started on, but I'm just so in this procrastinator that I
Hmm.
just cannot finish these books.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty tough being on dialysis. So that's why I encourage people to join different support groups to get that extra
Hmm.
boost and extra help.
Got you. And
Hmm.
you really answered the next question. So my other question would have been your experiences with dialysis and things of that nature. So you said that you spent about what, 3 days, three or 4
3 to 4 hours every other
every
day.
other day.
Yes, I have seen so many people pass out on the machine. Some people make it, some people don't, and
Hmm.
it's just, it's a hard task that you
Right.
have to fight.
So what are we needing to do as Black Americans? You said something about the sugar, staying away from the sugar. What
Staying
is it?
away from those pops.
The
Each can
pops,
of pop has it's like 20 spoons of sugar in it.
20 spoons of sugar.
Yes,
I hear
and
what you're
this
saying.
and this pop and fried chicken
Come
and
on,
the
come
way
on,
we're eating,
come on.
it's like I heard on Steve
Uh
Harvey
huh.
this morning. He was talking about two things that are important in life, and that is our health and our time.
Yes,
We are what we eat,
that's so
and
true.
that is something that we need to stay focused on this day is the things that we put in our mouth
Hmm.
that we are.
It becomes us. So the
Yes.
types of foods that you recommend that we eat to prevent possible keeping a healthy kidney, what would be
Hmm.
some of the foods?
I like vegetables and
Vegetables.
fruits and
Okay.
drinking plenty of water.
That's what I've been able to do. Now, I will
Yes.
every once in a while drink like a crushed pop, but
Yeah,
still,
it's okay. You can treat
but I
yourself,
want to
but
flush it out though with water.
yes, you flush it
But
out
this
with
is what
some
I normally drink
water.
right here. This is it.
Yes.
I
And I drink a
had
lot of
that
alkaline
much
water.
today. Yeah, I had that
Yeah.
much today
Okay.
to flush my kidneys out
Yes.
and my bladder out and all of that because I suffered from a bladder blockage as a
Okay.
little boy growing up in Mississippi. I can remember those nights. My family members were asleep
Hmm.
and I could not. And I'll say it on the record. All of us have had storms. It might not be physical storms
That's right.
or medical storms or financial, but we all go through something, or we
That's
know
right.
somebody that goes through something.
That's
Mine as a little boy was, Lisa, honestly, bladder trouble.
hmm
And a white preacher told me in Port Gibson, Mississippi, in the church, because I've been in church all my life.
okay.
He said, drink water. And
That's
that's
the
what I've
truth.
been doing.
Hmm.
And I realized, Brother Earl, another preacher, he dead and gone, one of the great preachers of our time, Dr. Patterson, A.O. Patterson. He preached a sermon on Psalm 23. He talked about the sheep. If you go back to Psalm 23, lay me beside the still waters. He said,
Oh
water,
wow.
water heal your body.
Wow.
We
I need to
think the
write that
pills
down.
are doing it, but without
Yes.
the water, that's why they tell you to drink a lot of water. See, the pharmaceutical companies, I'm not against them,
Yes.
but this is all we had back in the 1930s and 20s, and I can go back to 1800.
Hmm.
The old doctors, what are those doctors they call them back then? They didn't have doctors, a lot of slaves.
Right.
They would have people who had that mother wit. That's the word I want to use.
Okay.
And they will call on those people, and a lot of them will tell you to drink water. The answer to our problem is in Psalm 23. Drink
Wow.
water.
Wow,
But
did you all hear that
I
out
didn't
there?
realize that people knew that.
Psalms 23. Drink water.
Drink water.
Wow.
Water can heal your body. So I suffered from a bladder
Yes.
blockage, Lisa, and I used to drink Kool-Aid, 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 Kool-Aid. Not
Sugar.
pop was my issue, but Kool-Aid.
Hmm.
And I made a decision when I was 17 years of age
Okay.
that I would drink nothing but water. A struggle started in the beginning, but I drank water about 90% of the time. That's all I drink. Might drink a pop here and there,
Hmm.
but it's water, juice and water. But you're right. You said 20 cups of sugar are
Yes.
in a
In a
Coca-Cola
can.
pop, a can of pop.
Yes. I didn't want to say the name, but you said it.
I have to say it. You're right. I'll say it.
Yeah.
I'll
Put it
say it
on
on the air.
blast.
That's
Yes.
it. And you said fried chicken, eating
Fried
church's chicken
chicken.
and Popeyes.
Yes.
It's in our black
It's,
community.
yes.
I'm
It's on
not
every
knocking
corner.
Popeyes. I did a presentation on Popeyes to get a master's degree. I'm not knocking that, but our people just don't know how to just put it away. Have it
Yes.
in moderation. Why
Yes.
you got
That's
to
it.
eat chicken 3 and 4 and 5 times a week? That don't make sense to me, Brother Earl.
Yeah. High blood pressure.
High blood pressure. Eat that much chicken?
Yes.
What else? You said pops, fried chicken,
Oh,
sugary candy.
yes.
Okay.
And then,
Anything else?
that turns into diabetes.
Yes.
And
You're
diabetes
right.
turn into kidney failure.
Yes, Lord, have mercy. I do know for a fact I suffer from a diabetes as far as what's that, the number two, the pill?
Uh-huh.
I take the pill.
Okay.
And my issue was it's candy. I know it's
Hmm.
candy.
The
So
sugar.
it's
Hmm.
sugar. It's the candy. And I'm working on that. I'm gonna have to fight that demon and get rid of
Okay.
that
I
one.
still eat candy
I
and
do.
drink
But
pop a
I'll
little
flush it
bit.
out, Lisa. I'm
Yes, you
flushing
gotta
it
flush
out.
it out with
I
that
know I go to
water.
the bathroom a lot because I'm flushing it out.
Yes.
And I didn't realize why. Now I know why. But this time it's water, not
Hmm.
because of the sugar. The water is flushing and flushing me out. Yes,
Yes.
it is. We are just excited that you're here with us on tonight. Your faith, again, you've been a member of the same church for 40 years at United Baptist Church. Now, were you
Yes.
a member of the church during those tumultuous years of being diagnosed with kidney failures and all of that, or what?
Yes. That's one of the reasons that saved me is because my faith is strong in God, and I was into the church.
Into the church.
I sing in a choir. I go to
You
Bible
certainly do.
class. I was into the drama ministry, and we used to do this play. And I used to Jesus would touch me,
Hmm.
and I would say, "I'm healed. I'm healed." I played
Wow.
that part for over 10, 15 years, and actually God actually healed me over the
Wow.
years. So
Over the
yes,
years. See
yes.
that?
So I'm grateful to God for being in the church during my
Hallelujah.
struggles because I
Hallelujah.
couldn't do it without God on
I'm
my
telling you,
side.
I couldn't either. I'm telling you, I
Oh,
had nights with Sister Lisa and Brother Earl. I mean, it felt like I had to go to the bathroom, Earl, and nothing was coming out. I said, "What is this? This is rare, Lisa." And come to find out, it was a rare form of a bladder blockage.
hmm,
And water is what's keeping me alive by the grace of
yes.
God providing me water. Without the water, I've been dead back in
Okay.
my late teens. So I just thank God for that. Let's finish some time on this final question. We've been talking about your spirituality and God, but what is something that you want to leave us on tonight that would motivate us to never give up? You talked about it.
Hmm.
What is that thing called the the God that we serve? That's what's keeping you here.
Hmm.
What what is motivating you to continue on? Your scriptures, what things you want to share with us?
Well, what encourages me is encouraging others. When if I go on Facebook and I see some of my friends that's on dialysis, they're going through. I had this one friend, Nicole Hunt. She received a transplant from her brother, and she used it for over a year or two, and it rejected her,
Oh,
and she felt like it was her fault because the kidney rejected, but it's not her fault. Sometimes things don't go the way we want them to go. So
Exactly.
I like to encourage others. And when I encourage others, that encourages me. So
Okay.
that's what makes me strong is when I encourage
When you
others.
encourage
Yeah,
others.
because when I was on dialysis, there was no support groups, and
Right.
I was very depressed. But I wore this mask all the time. You couldn't tell that I was
Right.
going through
The smiles in our
those
faces. We just don't know.
smells, that mask that I was wearing.
Wow.
But God saw me through.
He
And as
did.
I continue to fight the battle and be an advocate for others that are waiting,
Hmm.
that gives me strength.
Oh, yes. So you
Yeah.
receive your kidney from a family member or who?
I received my kidney from a cadaver,
Okay.
and I was on dialysis one day, and matter of fact, it was on a Wednesday, and I got the call that there was a kidney for me that I wanted, and I was
Hmm.
like, yes. So
Awesome.
after waiting on dialysis for over 8 years, I got that call, and that's the call that everyone wants to get. And we're
Yes.
trying to stop that wait. We need people to get checked out. We need people to eat right. We need people to talk to their families and start the conversation about organ donation. Be an organ donor. Don't listen to those status that
Yes.
saying that we're going to take your kidneys and sell them. Kidneys are not for sale.
No.
You have to go through the test,
Yes, you do.
blood test, to
Hmm.
see
You
if
said a
you're.
cadaver, right?
Yeah,
What is
that's
that?
someone that have passed
Oh,
on.
passed on.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, I had a friend. Her son passed the other day, Friday, and she called me this morning, and she wanted to donate his organs, but
Hmm.
he had already passed. So,
He passed.
yeah, so you only can use the organs up to 72
That's
hours.
what we were talking about when I was reading the research too, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Alive
Yes.
kidney. That's so true.
Yes.
Wow. It's really amazing story that you're sharing with us tonight. And we've got to get you back on to share how you're still progressing. And it's been a 20-year success rate for you
Yes. Thank God.
after all of these years. Because
Yes.
like I said, in the church, I did not know you wanted to be on the show. So I'm finding out the other night what it was all about. And
Yeah.
you said it was because you are a kidney recipient.
Yes.
Just great. It's just so great having you on. Any
Thank
other
you.
things you want to share with us on
Well, I
tonight?
thank you for having me here. I actually took a break this year. I didn't want to be on any committees because I had been doing so much over the years, advocating and encouraging others and just not taking care of myself and just doing for everyone. So this year I decided to take a break. But there's so much and so much needs to be done. I just can't take a break. So I thank
Yes.
you for having me here because
Oh,
this
yeah.
boosts me up to get back on my job.
Yes.
So I
We're going to
thank
have
you
you
for
back
having
on.
me.
We will do a
Yes.
follow up show with you, perhaps in the summer months or in the fall,
Okay, that
to just
sounds
see how
great.
things are going. And you certainly can bring on another friend or guest or someone from your support group that you
That would be
attend. So
great.
currently, you do attend a support group somewhere else?
Say that
You
again.
do attend a support group anywhere else in the city?
Yes, actually, we have a donors drive coming up on the 12th
Okay,
at
tell us
Rush
about that.
University.
Rush University.
Yes, we're going to have a donors drive, and there's also a summit coming up
Okay.
with um what's the author name? To
Oh, you talk about
receive.
the police chief of
Yes.
the superintendent, Eddie
Yes,
Johnson.
Eddie Johnson.
Yes,
We'll
he
be
is
meeting him.
also. Is he
Yes.
looking for a kidney still?
No, he had a
He
kidney
has one.
transplant. Actually, after he received his kidney, they
Okay.
called me to do an interview.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're just so happy again that you came in with us on tonight. Brother Earl, we're going to go ahead and start landing this plane and get ready for next week. Again, thank you all for joining in with us on tonight. with my very special guest, Lisa Gee, who is an awesome person, a kidney recipient, still going stronger after 20 years of receiving a kidney. She's doing some great things in the church and outside the church, as she mentioned, with community events and things of that nature. On next week, we're going to do a show again on S.B. Fuller. Again, what ignited me was the fact that Jackie Robinson, even though I love him as an athlete and as a civil rights icon leader, he had some mixed opinions regarding Mr. S.B. Fuller, as far as there was a tape that he may have heard. He may not have heard the whole story about S.B. Fuller. I've been talking with my sponsor, the grandson of S.B. Fuller. And so next week's show, we will actually talk about the life and times of Mr. S.B. Fuller, a pioneer in economic development. So join us again on next week. In the words of Don Cornelius, Soul Train, we wish you peace and soul. Until next week, and God be with you, because I know He's going to be with me.